again after a lunch break in just a few minutes from now. So we're going to wrap up here with a little more analysis of what people could look forward to going for the rest of the afternoon here. Yeah, Rena, we'll bring in our first guest here, attorney Tom Heffelfinger, to weigh in as we await cross-examination on the first witness of the state's case, Jenna Scurry. She's a dispatcher. Tom, as the afternoon progresses here, what should we listen for?
The first thing we want to listen for is whether Jenna Scurry continues to take the position that what she saw on the video told her it was an unusual behavior, one where she needed to talk to a supervisor, which she did. She did not say that she recognized this as an excessive use of force. And I would expect the defense to focus on that distinction. The other thing that we should listen for is she provided the document that lays out that the first officers on the scene, including Officer Chauvin, knew that the people at Cup Foods believed that Mr. Chauvin was intoxicated or under the influence of something. So they walked into a situation where they believed they had somebody under the influence.
And Tom, that might be, part of the testimony that is a little more difficult to follow if you haven't followed a case before, because it's laying a lot of this background and this foundation. Just explain, what were we looking at there in a little more detail when they showed that document and they had Jenna Scurry answer questions about it?
Well, she provided a couple of important factors. One was simply how a dispatcher works. And the dispatcher is the one responsible for entering the times. And so from the prosecution's perspective, they're trying to establish this 9-minute and 29-second fact situation. And the basis for that is Jenna Scurry's notes. Similarly, it goes to how quickly the officers reacted, how quickly they contacted EMS and the paramedics. And so all of these other stories, if you will, storylines that are going to come later in this trial, to a very large degree, the foundation for them is the timing established by Jenna Scurry.
Interesting, Tom. Now, can you weigh in on, from a strategy point of view, starting with this witness in particular, and if they go forward with other witnesses who were involved with the day and the time that this whole thing unfolded on May 25th?
I think it was important that Jenna Scurry was the foundation for a video that is not the video provided by the bystander, which is the one most people have seen. It shows that there's multiple videos for the jury to look at and for the jury to digest. I would suspect that later today or tomorrow at the latest, we will eventually see the bystander video, which has received so much attention, the one that really focuses on Mr. Chauvin's face and his knee to the neck.
When it comes to Jenna Scurry's testimony that this was so out of the ordinary for her that she called the sergeant, what did you make of that?
Well, first of all, her tone of voice and her attitude in dealing with the sergeant was incredibly deferential, and she tried to almost minimize why she would call. But it is exactly what it says. She recognized it was something unusual. And as an eyewitness, remember, she was watching the video. That's powerful testimony that somebody said, this is unusual, this is wrong, this needs a supervisor to intervene.
And obviously she's not testifying as a use of force expert. Those experts will come later. And perhaps Eric Nelson will cross-examine her and point out the fact she's not an expert. For the viewers who are wondering on that note, what's the difference and why is it important that she thought it was unusual even though she's not an expert?
Because she's a city of Minneapolis employee, correct, at the 911 center, but she is not an expert. And she's in that respect much like the bystanders or the members of the jury who can see a set of facts and say, this is wrong, or this is not what I would normally see. And that's important evidence for a jury of peers, if you will, to hear.
And you mentioned briefly the importance of having this additional video in there. It sounded in Eric Nelson's opening statements that he alludes to the body camera videos and the importance of those in his case. And I almost sense that he is going to try to point the jury more towards those and less toward the Facebook video. But as you mentioned, this again offers another video that may be important to the prosecution's case.
Yes, the body camera videos, again, separate from the bystander, but they also show the conversation between the other officers and Chauvin, which is important since those other officers will not be testifying. That's how Eric's going to get into evidence.
Okay,
what they would say if they were.
Thank you very much, Tom. And we are going to send it back to the courtroom because we have some activity there now.